a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que me retiro del tenis profesional. Rafael Nadal. La realidad es que han sido unos años difíciles, estos dos últimos especialmente. Creo que no he sido capaz de jugar sin limitaciones. Es una decisión que evidentemente es difícil, que me ha llevado tiempo tomarla, pero en esta vida pues todo tiene un principio y un final y creo que es el momento adecuado para poner punto y final a lo que ha sido una carrera larga y mucho más exitosa de lo que jamás me hubiera podido imaginar. Pero me hace muchísima ilusión que mi último torneo sea la final de la Copa Davis y representando a mi país. Creo que es cerrar el círculo, ya que una de mis primeras grandes alegrías como tenista profesional pues fue la final de Sevilla en 2004.
Yeah, legendary tennis career is nearing its end as the 22-time Grand Slam winner Rafael Nadal announced earlier on Thursday that he will be calling time on his career after next month's Davis Cup. The 38-year-old, who has been badly hampered by injuries over the last 2 years, made the announcement in a 4.5-minute-long social media post. The King of Clay won the French Open singles title a record 14 times, winning an astounding 112 of his 116 major matches at Roland Garros. He's also a 4-time US Open champion, won both the Australian Open and Wimbledon twice. Let's get some reactions now from a few sporting stars. Roger Federer, what a career. Rafa, I've always hoped this day would never come. Thank you for the unforgettable memories and all your incredible achievements in the game we love. It's been an absolute honor. Coco Gauff says you are amazing. It's been so incredible to witness your greatness and work ethic and be able to learn from it. Wishing you all the best in the next chapter. Cristiano says, Rafa, what an incredible race you have had. Your dedication, passion, and incredible talent have inspired millions around the world. It has been an honor to witness your journey and to be able to call you a friend. Congrats on an amazing career. Enjoy your retirement. CR7, of course, Rafa, a huge Real Madrid fan, who Toni Kroos was a major star for as well. And he says, what an example as a player, and most important, as a person. See you soon, Rafa. De Gea says, you made me love tennis. And that was the last one, I think, yeah. So evidence there that not only tennis stars, Mariah, but football stars and big-name footballers putting their endorsement on the appreciation that they have for this outstanding career that Rafa is about to leave behind him.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes, Lance. So when you're an athlete, sometimes I think people don't realize the impact that they have on the people around them. And Rafa, I mean, just greatness personified, 22 Grand Slams. But he was known best for the French Open. 14 French Open titles. And I thought to myself earlier today, 14 French Open titles. Many people's career don't even span 14 years. And I say that because of the way, the longevity of his career, the way that, you know, as much as he could, he protected his body. He was so competitive. And then he got to compete, Lance, in a time where there existed the big three, which would be Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer. Like it started from like about the early 2000s when, you know, they got this massive fan base and everything. So for me, it's just, you know, it's sad to see him go and exit in this manner. But we also know that he has been struggling with injuries for quite some time. And I guess, you know, he has realized that his body can't do the things that he'd want his mind to do anymore. But Rafa has, of course, changed tennis in a good way. He has, I think, competed in one of the best eras of tennis. What is to come, I don't know yet, but he just made all of us so happy.
Yeah, and you know, only Novak Djokovic has one more Grand Slam titles than he has at 24. As you mentioned, the big three, Roger Federer, he retired 2 years ago at the age of 41. Rafa is at 38. But I fully understand Federer being able to prolong his career a little longer than Rafa has, because apart from the injury issues for Rafa, he's a very aggressive, energy-styled kind of player. He leaves nothing on the court, and he puts his body through a lot to get his results, Rafa Nadal. And it was very evident over the past couple of seasons that he was about to leave the sport because of the injuries impeding his number of appearances. I think if you look at the number of appearances, let's say Djokovic has had in the past 2 seasons, to Rafa, you'd see Djokovic having about 103 matches in the past 2 seasons, and Rafa having just 23 appearances. So that is a stark representation of how limited Rafa Nadal's appearances have been on the international scene. So he wants to make the Davis Cup coming up next month, his last appearance as a competitive international player. And we wish him the best, because you are right, he has given the sport some wonderful moments. And one of the things I like about him, and you can see from the responses that we've seen today, that people respect his sportsmanship. He has always been a great sportsman. I know there were many times I saw him lose a match and it was obvious that he had injury issues, and he never mentioned them.
No.
A lot of players, when they lose, they would quickly say, you know, I had this problem in my leg, and he tended to stay away from that. He just played his match, and if he won, he won. If he lost, he lost. And he was always ready to praise a player who defeated him. So it's not just his brilliance on court, Rafa Nadal, that has been appreciated, but his persona and the gift that he gave the sport as a personality.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we celebrate these athletes and celebrate their career, one of the key things to mention would be the psychological aspect of it, the insatiable appetite that they have. And you mentioned it, because he would be struggling with injuries, Lance, but he'd still come out and want to give it his best shot. And that appetite and love for the sport is something that, you know, it cannot go. We have to mention it, you know, it cannot go without being mentioned, because it speaks volumes again to the dedication, the work that goes into serving the sport. So when we sit back here, and I always say that, and enjoy a star or a hero do their thing in sport, we sometimes forget the work that really goes into it, because you expect them to always show up and do this because this is what they're good at. But I feel like that psychological aspect as well, he's been doing this for quite some time, it has to be mentioned.
Yeah, and you know, our producer just asked where we would rank him all time in the sport. And I would just say I would have him in the top 3 for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, but people like different things about sports stars. And a lot of people who like the artistry of sport would say Federer is the greatest of all time. Not because of his 20 Grand Slam successes, but the way he played his matches and the skill that he displayed on the court. But I've always liked sports stars and sports teams that show a lot of heart and courage. And for that, Rafa gets a lot of marks. To me, in many ways, gets more marks than Federer or Djokovic. So in some ways, he's been number 1. But people like different things about their sports stars. And I would say Rafa is in the top 3 all time.
Yeah. Well, on that note, seeing that you gave us Rafa being in your top 3, we're going to wrap up this segment, Lance, and get in some interactive before we close off today's show.